So there's a couple questions floating around out there. When will cruising resume? That's the big one. And then the second one is, do companies like Carnival Corporation, do they have enough money to wait it out? In today's episode of the Lido Loca Cruise Show, let's talk about the latest extension of the shutdown and also talk about how much money Carnival has and how long can they stay open without any revenue. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Lido Loca Cruise Show. I'm your host, Tony. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoy that cruising content, I would invite you to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of our episodes. Well, first and foremost, when will cruising resume? That's really anybody's guess. All we can do is continue to track along with what the government here in the United States is doing and with what the cruise lines are doing in response. The latest episode in that epic saga was last Thursday, the 9th of April. The CDC extended their no-sail order for potentially 100 days, and that did not go off without drama. What's super interesting is that two orders were actually filed last Thursday extending the no-sail order. The first one apparently was a no-sail extension of 120 days filed early Thursday morning and then rescinded after the White House task force asked the CDC to not make it so long. The number of 120 days was reduced to 100 days, and that was significant. That puts the ability for cruise lines to resume sailing toward the end of July and not smack in the middle of August. August really being part of the summer cruising season. So many are speculating that this pullback of the 20 days was to not jeopardize the summer cruising season. But again, this is all up in the air. This extension was an extension of a previous order, and so it's really not set in stone when sailing will begin again. And even this 100-day extension could be shortened or it could be extended again, depending what happens with the virus as the world continues to try to get it under control. The answer to the question, when will cruise lines sail again? Well, it really all depends. It will be dictated by the virus and the world's response to the virus. In an interview yesterday, Arnold Donald, who is the CEO of Carnival Corporation, he was interviewed by CNBC, and the wording that he used, I think, is kind of significant, kind of telling. He said that cruising will begin again when social gatherings begin again. If you think about what we're doing now to flatten the curve, we're trying to meet with no more than 10 people, trying to stay socially distant, 6 feet apart. So if you are looking for signposts, if you're looking for indicators that cruising may start again, you need to start looking at when social gatherings will begin again. Mr. Donald said very clearly that cruising is all about social gathering, and so until social gathering is permitted widespread across the world, cruising will not start until then. Will it happen within the next 100 days? Again, that is yet to be seen and something that we'll continue to track as we go forward. So that leaves the cruise lines like Carnival Corporation in the lurch. We're going to focus on Carnival Corporation because it makes up the majority of cruising in the world. They control 9 different cruise lines. Those cruise lines include many brands which you may recognize: Ada Cruise Lines, Carnival Cruise Line, Holland America Line, Costa Cruise Line, P&O Cruises, Princess Cruises, and Seabourn Cruises, just to name a few. Now, to answer the question of how long Carnival Corporation can stay viable as a business, you have to know how much money it costs to run on a monthly basis. The estimates are that it costs between $600 million and $900 million a month to operate Carnival Corporation with all of its subsequent brands. So we're looking at close to a $1 billion per month burn rate on the high end. And so you got to have a lot of coin to continue in operations. In that same interview yesterday with CNBC, Arnold Donald said that realistically, Carnival Corporation can keep its doors open until the end of the year without any revenue coming in. So it's mid-April now, so we're talking about 7.5 months of operations being able to continue without any income coming in. Now, Carnival's positioned itself well so that it can last those 7.5 months. They have about $9 billion. They activated $3 billion of credit earlier in the year, and then they went through a cycle where they raised funds, raising about $6 billion over the last month, so that their treasure chest is now beefed up to about $9 billion, giving it a little bit of a runway so that it can last to the end of the year without any revenue. So again, if we think about this idea of social gathering, can people begin to gather socially by the end of the year? Well, I sure hope so, and I think that's what Carnival is counting on. But let's just say that Carnival Corporation gets to the end of the year. They've blown through their $9 billion. Will they be boarding up and going home at this point? I don't think so. Again, from the interview with Mr. Donald yesterday, he did mention that even though the Carnival Corporation does not have access to the stimulus bill put forth by the United States, Mr. Donald pointing out that cruising is a global enterprise and that there are global investors that would like to invest in Carnival. He said there's opportunities in Germany, in the UK, and in Italy, places for us to secure additional liquidity. So it doesn't sound like that once Carnival runs through this money that they are ready to go away, that they will try to raise more money. But at the end of the day, the hope is that cruising will return and that revenue will return before the end of the year. And there's another significant component to this. People who are into cruising are loyal to their cruising companies. Again, Mr. Donald pointing out that bookings are up for 2021 as people look forward to a time where this crisis has ended. And also, many of the people whose cruises have been canceled have opted for future cruise credits opposed to looking for a refund. More than 50% of the people rebooking future cruises opposing to looking for refunds. So that's another strong indicator that there is a market out there for cruising. At this point, Carnival Corporation and many of its cruise lines have said they will look to return to sailing at the beginning of July, which kind of runs in contrast with the CDC 100-day extension, which would put sailing beginning sometime toward the end of July. But that 100-day extension is not set in stone, and we have seen the cruise lines continue to cancel cruises going forward. And I think we'll continue to see that dance play out here as the cruise lines continue to conform to the recommendations of agencies like the CDC while continuing to try to build confidence that they will cruise again soon. It's significant to watch what Carnival Corporation does. Again, they are the industry leader in global cruising, and as Carnival goes, I would say the rest of the industry goes. Cruising, this industry, extremely profitable, and it makes sense that companies like Carnival Corporation would do everything that they can to stay in business, to stay afloat, to ride out the storm and wait for a better day. Hopefully that day comes sooner than later. It will be interesting to see how smaller cruise lines like Norwegian Cruise Line, privately owned MSC Cruise Lines, how they will adapt to a run rate where they have expenses month after month, but no income, no revenue coming in. The world continues its efforts to flatten the curve, to fight against this virus, and the best outcome, at least for cruising, would be those efforts to be successful and to be expeditious. It's tricky, but for the short term, at least for 2020, it looks like Carnival Corporation will still be in business, and it does look like people are continuing to book future cruises, which if you're a cruise enthusiast, if you're a cruise advocate like myself, those are all good signs. But what do you think? Did you have cruises canceled in this last round of cancellations? Are you taking the refund? Are you taking the future cruise credit? Let's have that conversation below in the comments. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please show support for the channel by hitting that like button. Don't forget to subscribe with the notification bell on. This is Tony with the Lido Loca Cruise Show, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.